morning, everybody. Does anybody know what time it is? Do you know what time it is? It's Tuesday with Terry time. That's what time it is. I got to tell you that right now. Hey, it's another Tuesday coming up here. And my name is Terry. I'm talking to you live from Austin, Texas, where the sun is getting hot. Man, I tell you, it is warming up. I love that warm weather. Spring is starting to sprung, I guess. But the sun is hot, the barbecue is sweet, and all the drinks are free when you want to hang out with me. Today, the topic of my presentation is called Ham and Eggs on Customer Service. You know, do you really have the ham and eggs in customer service? I've talked about customer service a long time ago. I'm going to bring back an old story. It's an oldie but a goodie. I'm going to bring back an old story, but the ham and eggs. And the reason I use the ham and eggs is because if you think about ham and eggs, I mean, let me tell you a little story about that, is that the chicken was involved, but the pig was really committed. If you think about ham and eggs, right? Now, I heard that from one of my guys on the Rex Roundtable. He used that illustration. But the truth is, if you're going to eat some ham and eggs, the chicken was involved, but the pig was actually committed. And I'm going to ask you that question. What about you and your customer service and taking care of your members, taking care of your customers, taking care of your clients? Are you just involved, or are you really committed? I mean, it's all in on the ham. And so I tell the story of the lobster bisque story. I got to tell it again because it's a oldie but a goodie. I love that story, but it really brings out a point. There was a gentleman who did a lot of training. He did a lot of traveling. And when he traveled, he tried to stay in the nice hotels, and he tried to have his training sessions and little conferences and workshops in a very nice hotel. And he found this hotel in a great city, and it was world famous. In one of the restaurants, it was world famous for their best lobster bisque. I mean, they had highest high rankings for lobster bisque. So he checked into the hotel. He decided to stay at that hotel, and he was having his workshop at that particular hotel. And sure enough, he went down to the restaurant a few hours before his presentation, and he went up to the hostess. And he said, I'm actually a guest in the hotel, and I would like to come into your restaurant and have a bowl of your lobster bisque. I've heard so much about it. He said, I'd really like to get in here and have that. And he said, I'd like to do it. He said, I've got probably 100, 200 people coming into my little session here in just a few moments, and they're going to be using some of the venues of the hotel. And anyway, I just wanted to get in and be able to recommend it because I've heard so much about it. And the hostess, as many hostesses do, looked at him and said, sir, she said, I apologize. She said, I'm sorry, but unless we get so busy in this hotel, unless you're ordering a full dinner menu, we just can't have people come in and just order the lobster bisque. So I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to help. He said, maybe you don't understand. He said, I'm sorry. He said, maybe you don't. He said, I'm actually a guest. I'm staying in the hotel. And he said, I've got other people coming into the hotel. And he says, honestly, he said, it wouldn't take but, 15, 20 minutes. He goes, I just wanted to try that lobster bisque. He said, I read all the reviews, heard so much about it. Can I get in there? And the hostess said, well, she said, I'm sorry, sir. And you've heard this many times in your own experience. She said, but it's our policy. You ever heard that before in your own work or your own, whether it's an airline, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a service venue, you hear this, it's our policy. And so the guy got a little upset, and he said, listen, he said, maybe there's a manager I could speak to. Could I speak to a manager? She said, just one moment. And she left, and she walked back to the restaurant, and she went through those swinging doors, that flap, between the restaurant and the kitchen or wherever that is. And all of a sudden out comes a guy, and he's dressed up in a very nice a tuxedo and the little satin stripe down, black tuxedo, black bow tie. And man, was this guy looking sharp, right? And he came out and he said, what seems to be the problem? Actually, he was the maitre d'. And the guy said, well, listen, I'm staying at the hotel. I'm having a workshop here. I got a couple hundred people coming in, and I've heard about your lobster bisque, and I kind of wanted to try it, before I did my session. And the maitre d' said, oh, sir, he said, I am so sorry. No way could we allow that to happen. We just get so busy. He said, it's coming up on the top of the hour. And he said, people will start lining up to get into this restaurant. And he said, unless you're ordering a full dinner menu. With that, the man kind of put his hand down on the top of the counter. He turned around and he said, I'm going to go out and talk to somebody else. and he went out to the front counter. Now, I actually worked in the hotel industry, and I was a manager on duty, and I understand what that means, but he went out to the front counter where all the receptionists are checking people in, and he said, I want to talk to a manager right now. Manager comes out finally, and it wasn't even a manager, it was a manager on duty. You know what that is? An MOD, right? What's the names we give those guys? So he comes out and he says to me, he says, sir, he says, how can I be of, he's trying to do his best, right? 5-star. Woo-hoo. Hey, he says, how can I be of service to you this afternoon? And the man went through the whole story. Again, I'm staying at the hotel. I'm a guest at the hotel. I'm doing a workshop. A couple hundred people come in, just want to try that lobster bisque. Manager on duty said, sir, he says, I apologize. Please follow me. He walked the man up to the hostess. He said, would you excuse me just for a moment? He walked into the restaurant, found a table, pulled the chair out for the gentleman, and sat the gentleman down at the table. And he looked at it. He says, I apologize for any inconvenience. And he said, right now, he said, the lobster bisque tonight to this afternoon, it'll be on the house. It'll be on us. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Now, let me ask you a question right now. After I tell you that story, how many of you want to go eat at that restaurant right now? Right? You think about that. Forget about the world famous lobster bisque, but think about the experience of just going in and trying some lobster bisque. How many of you want to go eat at that world famous, masterfully written up lobster bisque restaurant? I mean, a nice hotel, beautiful hotel. I mean, is that where you really want to go? Not if you're going to have a bad experience. But let me tell you about another little restaurant. It's not world famous for anything. Same guy. Goes home, gets done with his session, flies home, gets home. The weekend arrives, and on Sunday nights, he always takes his family out for dinner on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. It's family time. So he finds a nice little restaurant in his town, and it's no big famous, world famous, no great write-ups, nothing, just a kind of out of the corner, small little family restaurant. He gets his family there, his wife, his kids, got a couple kids, and they all sit down at the table. And it's a little loud in that particular restaurant, but they don't mind. They're just as loud as everybody else, and they're having a good time spending time together as a family. The waitress walks up and begins to take the order. And so she goes to the mom and takes her order, and then goes to the dad, and then goes to the kids. And one of the younger girls, when the waitress was taking her order, says to the waitress, I really like ice cream, but I noticed you don't have ice cream on the menu. Now, she hadn't actually ordered her dinner yet. The waitress looks at her, leans down, gets a little bit closer and said, you know what? We actually don't offer ice cream here as part of the dessert menu. But if you tell me what kind you like, I'll go make you some. The little girl told her. She took the full order. They ordered the dinner. While everyone was eating dinner, this young lady, they did not have ice cream at that restaurant, goes across the street with her own money to a 7-Eleven, buys a half a gallon of butter pecan ice cream, brings it back, scoops it out, puts it in a little dish, and after dinner was served, she brings that out and brings it and sets it right in front of the young girl. Now, let me ask you a question. How many of you want to go eat at that restaurant right now? And you see, what I'm really talking about is I'm talking about someone who is committed to customer service and doing the right thing and taking care of the customer versus somebody that's just involved in customer service. Does that make sense? And so here's something that I would ask you to do if you own a business or you're involved in a business. Here's something that you can do. I want you to go home tonight. I want you to go home tomorrow. I want you to go to your business next week, and I want you to write a 5-star review for your business. I want you to walk into your business in 2 different scenarios. I want you to write 2 different 5-star reviews. The first 5-star review is I want you to look at your business as a new client or a new customer and pretend that it's the first time you walked into your business and see how you're greeted. Walk into your business and see what people say, see what you see what you smell, see what you experience. See what people say to you, see how long it takes people to recognize you, and go through that process and then write a 5-star review about what your experience was the very first time as you look through it through the eyes of a new customer, number one. Number two, I want you to go write a 5-star review as if you had been using your product or service for a long time, right? And the reason I say that is because how are you enforcing, and what I want you to look for in your 5-star review is how is your team reinforcing their relationship and the brand's relationship with you? Is it even being reinforced? Meaning, are they using your name when you walk in? You've heard me say this before. Does anybody know my name? Does anybody know I'm here? And does anybody care about me? And does that really happen when you walk into your business? And I don't care what kind of business it is. I don't care if it's a restaurant. I don't care if it's an ice cream store. I don't care if it's a health club, a gym, whatever it is, an appliance store. Find out, how is your team reinforcing the relationship that they have with you? And I would encourage you to be thinking about this. If you ever played sports, you understand these two concepts. When you play basketball or football, a lot of different sports, you play, and when you have a team sports, you have what's called zone defense. Or the other scenario would be man-to-man. And I would ask you in your business model, how many of you are actually playing zone customer service, where people are there and they're covering certain areas? Or are you really playing man-to-man? Are you getting close and intimate and engaging with the customer? And you're getting to know that customer, and you're getting to understand how you can reinforce your relationship with the customer and what the experience, what they're looking for, and what they want, and how you really relate to them. There's a difference between man-to-man customer service and zone customer service. Which one of those two are you playing? And the key for great customer service is great people. We all know that. And so people ask me all the time, Terry, how do you get such happy people working for you? I'm going to tell you, here's the secret. You ready? Write this down. I hire happy people. I look for, and you say, Terry, well, what is it? That sounds silly, right? Yeah, it is. But in the interview process, I look for teeth and I look for eyes. Are they smiling? And can they make eye contact with me? Because if they can do it with me, they'll do it with the customer. I'm looking for people that are fun. I'm looking for people that are playful, that are friendly, that are enthusiastic, that are energetic, that can laugh, and that can also tell me a good story about themselves. I'm looking for the personality of somebody that was in band, or somebody that was in drama class in school, or sold M&Ms as a Girl Scout, or Girl Scout cookies. Right? In Boy Scouts, they sell the M&M, the candies, and then Girl Scouts sell the Girl Scout cookies. But did they do that? And the reason that's important is because that tells me they probably have some practice in their younger days of being outgoing and being youthful and being friendly and talking to people. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for hiring happy people, and I'm looking for personality. And you know, if you ask you this question, we all hear about customer service at Chick-fil-A, right? Is Chick-fil-A really interested in the chicken? Or are they interested in the servant leadership that all of their employees take with their customer? You think Chick-fil-A is playing man on man, or are they playing zone? And what about your business? Have you ever heard of Juan Carlson in SAS Airlines? He has this concept called moments of truth, moments of neutrality, moments of misery, and moments of magic. A moment of neutrality, and this is a great one for your team to listen to, by the way. A moment of neutrality is where somebody expects something out of your business and it actually happens. So if you're supposed to open your doors of business at 7 a.m. and those doors are open and the lights are on, and somebody comes in and they grab the door and they pull it open and it opens, they don't get super excited about that. You told them you opened at 7 o'clock. You put a phone number on your website, or you put some phone number on your marketing materials, and people call and you actually answer the phone. They don't get really excited about that. They expect you to answer the telephone. Or if they leave a message and you tell them in the message that you're going to call them back, and you actually call them back, they don't get really excited about that. Those are called moments of neutrality. You're meeting their expectation. But if you're supposed to open at 7 and you don't answer the phones and they leave a message and you don't call them back, Those become moments of misery. Those are where the expectation is not met in a customer service environment. And what you're trying to do, or what we're all trying to do, is create moments of magic. Nobody does it better than Disney, right? You know, Disney creates a happy environment, happy place, and they do what they say, and they try to find ways to exceed the expectation. So what is a moment of magic? It is where you got something extra, but it actually didn't cost you anything extra. That's called value add. And so when you walk into a place of business and somebody remembers your name, that's kind of extra. And the reason that's important and it's extra is because nobody does it. So if I can get my team to say your name, if I can get my team to take a personal interest in you and know about the things that are happening in your life, right? If I get them to know about whether you just got a dog, whether you just had some surgery, whether you just got married, whether you just had a divorce, whether you're going through something in your life, if I can get them to know a little bit about you, it has more connectors in the relationship with you. And so a lot of times people say, well, Terry, I understand the moments of magic and the moments of misery. That's great. But how do I get my team to create moments of magic? I'm going to give you a list, a couple things here that could help you. Number one is you've got to get your team to be enthusiastic. If they're not enthusiastic, motion creates emotion. Tell them to go run around the building a couple times. It'll get their blood flowing, get the endorphins going, and they'll be a little bit more enthusiastic. Motion creates emotion. They need to be positive, not negative. They don't need to be talking down the competition. They need to be positive. They need to be understanding and provide undivided attention. Not get distracted with 5 people or not get distracted on other things or their cell phone. Boy, I got to tell you, I used to, I haven't seen this recently, but in big box gyms, I used to go in and I'd see a personal trainer training somebody and it'd be on his cell phone while a person was doing the workout. And he's supposed to be paying attention to her. He's getting paid for that, but yet he's on his cell phone. You need undivided attention. You need somebody that shows kindness and empathy. They can understand how you feel or being in that particular situation, whether you're a new customer or whether you're a long-term customer. You need people that smile and say thank you and welcome. I'm glad you're here. Common courtesies, right? They need to make a connection. How can they lower the anxiety? And I'm going to tell you, this one right here is this is a sweet one. One of the ways you can lower anxiety is you have to teach people to talk with their late night DJ voice. And what that does is it begins to calm people down, especially if they're upset. So the tone, the tempo that people speak needs to go slower and lower. Slower and lower. Teach your team how to do that when people get upset, how to lower the risk. Man, you can already tell by the sound of my voice, things are just getting much calmer here in the studio. When you leave work today or you leave work tomorrow, can you do me a favor and ask yourself, how much magic did I create? Ask your team to do that. Have a magic board. Have people write down when they create moments of magic. What did I do today to create a moment of magic? Last piece of what I want to share with you is you've got to be able to measure your customer service. How are you really doing? And it's one thing to list out the moments of magic. It's one thing to talk about it. It's one thing to celebrate it, and I definitely think you should. But the other scenario is, how do you measure it? If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And so the ways to measure it are obviously through surveys. Find a way to do a survey with your customers and get some feedback about how you're doing. Look at your reviews, right? You can always look at your reviews, look at your Google reviews and see how they're doing. You should be responding to those and trying to get more people to give you better reviews. That helps your SEO. And one other thing is called NPS. We call that Net Promoter Score. What is a Net Promoter Score? What does that even mean? Net Promoter Scores are basically when people evaluate your business on a scale of 1 to 10. 9 and 10 mean that they really love the business and they're probably ambassadors of your business. They're going to go tell people about your business to come to your business, and they will help you promote and sell your product or service. They're promoters. If you are at a 6 or below, we call those detractors. Detractors are people who probably had either a neutral experience or a bad experience. 7s and 8s are neutrals. They're neither positive or negative. They're not hurting you, but they're not necessarily helping you. And so what I would ask you is you can go and find this. We use a system called Listen 360. You may want to look at that. There's a bunch of other ones out there that you can use. And basically what you do is like a survey. They send it out and they ask them to do a rating for your business. But the number one telltale sign that you've got promoters and you're doing a great job with customer service is it all comes down to one simple question. Would you refer a friend or family member to this business, yes or no? And if somebody says yes, then they're probably pretty much a promoter. And so as you look at your business, what message are you leaving at the end of a customer visit or a client interaction that would encourage them to increase the frequency or the use of your product? Have you thought about that? Because what you got to do is figure out the more people use your product or use your service, the more money you make, the more longer they stay as a member or a client with you. But is there anything that you can do at the end of your day or at the end of a client interaction that would cause them, whether it's through an email, whether it's through a text message, whether it's through a phone conversation, that you could text or reach out to that person that would encourage them to use your business more? In our business, in the Orange Theory business, we call that pre-booking. We try to get them to pre-book their next 2 or 3 or 4 visits. In any case, want to go back and finish where I started, is of all the things that I said today, you got to make a decision. Are you the chicken or are you the pig? Are you going to be involved or are you really going to get committed? And I think what you really need to be thinking about is, are you playing man-to-man customer service or you're playing zone? Are you creating moments of magic? Does your team know how to create a moments of magic, and are you teaching and training them how to do that? And finally, are you measuring the levels of your customer service with your customers through Net Promoter Score or through surveys? Have a wonderful day. Share this with a friend. Share this with your team. This is a good one to talk to your team about customer service. My name's Terry. I'm your friend. Have a wonderful day.